and welcome to another episode of Annie Talks, where we bring to you interesting stories about interesting people that you want to know about. I'm your host, Annie Rivera. Thank you for tuning in, and to those who have already subscribed. If you're new to the podcast, welcome, and I hope you enjoy what you hear. And if so, I personally invite you to subscribe. Annie Talks is brought to you by Luxwear Trends, affordable, luxurious timepieces for every occasion, luxury that lasts forever, and that's what sets us apart from others. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit luxweartrends.com. That's Luxe weartrends.com. We are officially into the spring season of 2018, and besides allergies, the start of baseball season, and spring cleaning, this time of year is also a busy time for tax preparers, CPAs, and accountants all over America. And if you haven't already had your taxes done, or if this is the first time you're filing taxes, or if you are like many who wait until the very last minute to get those taxes done, fret none, listeners. I have a very special guest on the Annie Talks show who lives and breathes for this time of year, working late days and nights, all to have your taxes prepared. I'm talking with Joey Jimeno of JNS Tax Services, who will lend his insights on things to remember, things to prepare, really a checklist of sorts, before filing your taxes. I guess you'd be surprised the things we all forget to bring along with us before meeting our tax preparer. He also shares some of his pet peeves during this time of year and how we can start preparing for next year. So, without further ado, here now is my interview with tax preparer Joey Jimeno. I have the wonderful pleasure of speaking with Joey Jimeno of JNS Tax Services. He's a good friend of mine. And Joey, why don't you fill in a little bit about, say, your hometown and where you're from, and just a little bit about Joey Jimeno.
Okay, well, I was raised in Carson, California. You and I, have known each other for quite a number of years because we went to high school together. And I got my business management degree, and I've been just working in different types of businesses as far as like banking and finance. And now I end up owning a tax preparation company.
So tell us about what made you decide to go into this profession as a tax preparer.
Well, I was a professional photographer for 15 years, and I couldn't understand why somebody from the big name tax preparation companies wouldn't allow me to take my legal deductions. I was a professional photographer, and this is before the real digital came out. So I was buying 35 millimeter film. I was processing the film, getting enlargements, and I knew those costs should have been deductible. I was hanging out with the photography group, and we all kind of shared notes. But the big name company that I had my taxes prepared with wouldn't allow me to take these deductions, and I knew something was up. So as time went along, I decided one day, I was a field supervisor for a security guard company, and I decided that, what the heck, I'm going to give it a shot and see if I liked doing and preparing tax documents, and I've been doing that for 14 years, and I'm very happy.
So very cool. Everybody, just so you know, this time of year is a very, for me at least, it's kind of a hectic time of year. And for someone like Joey, it's very, ebbs and flow in that he's very busy this time of year. It's obviously tax season. So now, Joey, tell us a little bit about some of the new tax laws and how are they affecting us and how are they affecting you as a tax preparer?
Well, luckily, Donald Trump's tax plan doesn't come into effect till next year, so we're still dealing with the previous administration's tax rules, and so it's not too bad right now. So it's not affecting the mom and pops out there right now, but it's definitely giving us tax preparers a little worry because we're wondering how things are going to be when children are going from a $1,000 credit to a $2,000 credit, and the standard deduction is going to be over $10,000. And it just seems like the new administration is just trying to eliminate the middleman, which is the tax preparer. So it makes us a little worried about our end and where it's going to affect us.
Now tell us about what are one or maybe a few, you might have some horror stories or some stories that you like to share with us about what are some of the mistakes that you see us doing around this time of year.
The biggest thing I see is towards usually the end of the year. A lot of people get Christmas bonuses or bonuses from their employers, and that could be taxed anywhere from 40 to 50%. So a lot of people will fill out their W-4 and go exempt towards the end of the year. Now the problem with that is people forget. They start seeing that bigger paycheck and I was like, oh goody, I got more money in my pocket, and then they forget that they changed their status, and now when the next tax season comes along, they're wondering, well, why didn't I have more taxes taken out? And the answer is, well, why did you change your W-4? And they're like, oh, because I wanted to get more of the bonus. Well, you never changed it back. And that's the big thing I see with a lot of people. That's not just one and two here and there. It's quite a number of people that do that.
So is there something that we should be doing, like maybe setting a calendar reminder to put, to change our exemptions back to, what it was before?
Yeah, you can set a calendar and say, hey, change back my W-4. There's a lot of things people can do. Best thing to do is just kind of, just budget your money and have the taxes, taken out, and let's see if we can get you a refund when tax season comes along.
Okay, got it. Now, here's a question for you specifically. So what are some of your pet peeves around this time of year during tax season? What are you seeing that, are repeatedly coming through and has now become kind of like your number one pet peeve?
Okay, so my biggest pet peeve would definitely have to be people who do not have their ducks in a row, meaning their list of deductions and their paperwork. A lot of times people come in and they even forget their W-2s. They forgot a 1099 that they picked up because of some reason or another. And they don't have their list of deductions of what you can deduct. I personally send out a letter every year, and it has a list of every legalized deduction that a person can take. And all a person has to do is just kind of peruse my list, and if they see something that will be deductible, then they can fill it in and bring it in when they do when they prepare their taxes. A lot of people don't understand that commuting miles to work is different than the miles that they would have. Let's say they're an outside salesperson. They leave their house, they go to work, and they pick up some items from work, and then they go out into the field to sell the products. Well, once they leave their office, then that is deductible. But the mileage between their home and their job is not deductible. And a lot of people, they don't seem to understand that.
Okay. So you alluded to that list. Can you say that again? Can you kind of give just a pretty broad overview of a checklist of what people need to remember when they come to you or to other tax preparers?
When they go in, they need to make sure they have all of their income. The deductions and stuff can, that is what it is, and we can work around that. But the income is very important. So have your W-2s, have your 1099 miscellaneous forms, have your 1099 interest forms if you have a savings account, dividends if you have stocks or bonds, and please, if you sell stock, please let us know. I had a client, and nicest person you ever want to meet, but he got in trouble because he forgot he sold a ton of stock in 1 year, and he didn't tell me about it.
Ah, goodness gracious. Okay, so stock information. What about education? What about schooling, colleges, and loans?
Okay, so on the education, your student loan interest up until now is still deductible. I'm not sure what's going on with the new administration as far about that. I've heard two different stories. I heard nothing's going to happen, and then I heard it's going to be taken away. So your student loan interest, you might want to keep an eye on this year. And if you are going to school, make sure you get what's called a 1098 T as in Tom. That's the form that is usually issued by your college to talk about how much you spent on the college courses. But things you want to also concentrate on when you're going to school is, did you have to buy any school equipment, papers, pens? And you had to buy a new laptop computer to take notes in the class. Anything and everything as far as you had to spend so that you can take your classes and get your diploma or degree. You kind of want to keep an eye on that because that's also deductible.
Perfect. Now, segueing into, we're almost toward the end of this season. We've got a couple more weeks left before the end of this season, this tax season. So what advice do you have for next season? How should we now start preparing for next season?
Well, if you don't own a home yet, you may want to start looking at that. I understand that the mortgage interest is going to be capped up to after a certain dollar amount, but also the price of the homes are going to be capped or to that effect. Just keep your documentation. Keep every strip of paper that has a dollar amount on it. If you spent it for purposes for your job, that could be an employee related expense. If you don't have one, get a copy of your employee handbook. See if your company has one. Some companies don't have them. We understand that. But if your company does have one, get a copy of your employee handbook and kind of peruse what it says. If it says that you are responsible for providing your own vehicle to do sales calls and you have to keep track of your mileage, then do so because that's deductible. But if the company says, keep track of your miles and turn in this mileage log and then they reimburse you, then that will take away your chance to deduct those miles. So just kind of keep track of all your expenses.
Okay, very cool. What is one takeaway or parting words of wisdom that you can share with our audiences today, our listeners today?
Do your taxes. Please do not think that if you don't do your taxes, the IRS is going to forget about you and go away. I have too many instances where people think, and that's wrong, they don't go away. They just kind of tack on the penalties and interest, but they will find you, and then you're in for a world of hurt. So get your taxes done. Tax season's almost over. I think we have something like 29 more days, but we still have extensions. So by September, you can still get your taxes done for this year. You don't have to wait until the very last minute. So I have too many people that wait until the last minute because they made $100,000 and had no taxes taken out, and they know they're going to owe, but come on, take your lumps.
Okay. So talk a little bit about the extensions. Now, is that an option or would you recommend it? Just for people like first-time tax filers, let's say, who, maybe first-time job and or are doing consulting work or whatever it may be. And if for whatever reason you need to do an extension, do you recommend it? And then talk a little bit about that.
Okay, extensions were just meant for people that might be out of state, out of the country, or just for some reason are unable to do their taxes. It is not meant for people to avoid paying taxes. That's not going to happen. Right now, there seems to be a big push on people that if they file for an extension and they owe, that the Internal Revenue Service has been sending out notices tacking on penalties and interest because they waited and worked that extension. So I don't think the IRS is taking it lying down right now. So just get your taxes done. If you're out of the country, then okay, there might be a little understanding. But seek out a tax preparer, and it could be one of us at J&S Tax Services. It could be someone else. But get in, get your taxes done, and just hope for the best.
And the earlier the better, of course, and then or at least as soon as possible, correct?
Yeah, the earlier the better, but we understand that the previous administration allowed for companies to send out tax information starting February 1st, and that put a really big strain on people who, like me, who work from January 15th till April 17th, and then we don't have very many clients, if any, from January 15th till February 1st. That's one thing that we have to be wary of.
Got it. Okay, guys, you heard it. You've got less than a month to get your taxes done. So if JNS Tax Services is your, company of choice, then, Joey's definitely available, or, get your taxes done one way or another, get it in, get it done, and hopefully breathe a sigh of relief, right? So we hope for the better for everybody. So definitely do it. And thanks, Joey, so much for coming on the show and talking about my favorite time of year. Not. And definitely one of your favorite times of year, I'm sure. But definitely thank you so much for coming on the show.
Okay, thank you, Danny.
Well, that's it, everybody. I hope you found this episode chock full with helpful tips to make your tax preparation stress-free and less agonizing. A special thank you to my friend Joey Jimeno for all his great advice. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate and review the Annie Talks podcast. This makes it easier for others to find this podcast and helps with all the algorithms. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel, which I will have the link in the show notes of this episode. There you'll find other DIY videos, fitness videos, and more Annie Talks episodes. And last but not least, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my podcast and be notified whenever we upload a new episode. Thank you all for tuning in, and keep listening to Annie Talks.
This is Joey Jimeno, and I'm with JNS Tax Services, and you're listening to Annie Talks.